Of course, you stating that Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to fund this war. Speaking of Nigeria, one of the questions that we'd like to ask you is why the northern part of Nigeria, why northerners are vehemently against military operations in this Niger coup. Could you give us some insight on that?
It's not only the north. Get the demography very well. Go to the Niger Republic. Get the demography of Nigerians that are staying in Niger Republic. There are Hausas, Yorubas, Igbos, Fulanis, Kanuris, Birams, Ganauris. Every tribe in Nigeria has a representation in Niger Republic. Therefore, don't look at it as a northern affair. It's not a northern affair. Maybe predominantly northerners are there, but there are so many other ethnic tribes of Nigerian extraction that are living in Niger, have been living in Niger, they have married there, they have invested there. Therefore, attacking Niger is not only attacking the north, it's attacking the entire Nigeria. Maybe that is another way of saying that maybe Tinubu dreamt in the spirit of Gideon Oka, who wanted to excise the entire north out of Nigeria. Let him decimate the entire north. And let's see what he's going to get out. If he's not careful, he will lose more than ECOWAS. If he loses more than ECOWAS, he will lose Nigeria. There is no way you can go to a war in Nigeria involving more than 50 million people, and you think you can just look away, you go and sleep, and you sip some tea and feel comfortable and order a military excursion into Niger. Let him go ahead and do that. We are waiting for him to do that. We are not afraid of that. Let him attack Niger, please, yesterday, in a manner of speed, not even today. Let ECOWAS on Thursday order for a military invasion of Niger. Not Thursday, but please today on Tuesday. We are waiting for it to happen.
We hope not to. It's the proverbial rock between a hard place. In one situation, we have a country like Nigeria that isn't completely politically stable in and of itself. And then we have another country right next to it, well, a bunch of countries that have military juntas who are at the helm, and they seem quite politically unstable as well. Military governments. Right now, it seems like President Tinubu has a lot on his plate. He must be extremely stressed out. How heavily does his credibility hang on how he handles this Niger situation?
Well, already, even before the Niger situation, he has credibility issues surrounding his person, his personality, his genealogy, his political affiliation, his votes, his declaration. This is enough baggage for him. Now, on his own, he elected personally. He elected personally, and he invited stress and placed on his head. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the head to shoulder that tension, to shoulder that stress. If you remember, there are two rivals in Arrow of God. One of them is Umwaka of Idimili. The other one is Ezulu of Ulu. The two of them have been at loggerheads. They have been fighting. And in trying to paint the scenario the way it is, Achebe did a proverb, which I love always, that I prefer to deal with somebody who calls for war and put his head. I prefer to deal with people who throw a stone up there and put their head to receive it than somebody who calls for war. And when it comes, he trembles and passes a premature shit. This is a war that Tinubu cannot afford. Physically, psychologically, intellectually, militarily, the capacity is not there. I think he is using this war as an alibi. As what? As a cover. To do what? To ensure the war comes between Nigeria, ECOWAS, and Niger, and then that will make him invoke a constitutional provision for emergency rule. That will not happen. Nigerians are much, much wiser. We have seen in other military, just like you said, in other military, in other countries where military are, they are stable. They have no business going to Niger. If the choice of Nigerian people to assage for their own frustration is a military rule, and they have welcomed it, so be it. Where was ECOWAS when other countries were being taken over by military? Where was America? Where the UK? Where are all these pretenders of democracy? Where were they? If military rule is an option to irresponsible leadership, to fraud in governance, to betrayal of trust, to cherry picking of enemies, so be it.
Mr.
If
Shehu.
civilian president don't like coup, if civilian president don't like coup, they should be democratic, they should be responsible, they should be responsible, and they should be answerable. Short of that, coup will always be an option for people who are aggrieved.
Noted. Of course, we'll have other elements to explore with you, but I would like to go back to some of the statements that you've made here. You mentioned that if the president is not careful, he will lose more than ECOWAS, he will lose Nigeria. And when referring to the president exploring military options, you stated, and I quote, "We are waiting for him to do that." So I'm just wondering, when you say you're waiting for him to do that, what reaction, since you're also a political activist, what reaction do you have in store should he choose to explore the military option?
When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, the next 3 hours, the president of the US then, George Bush Sr., went on the air and said, "This is my last message to Saddam Hussein. Get out of Iraq or you lose more than Iraq." He refused to go out and he lost Iraq. If Tinubu decides to go and invade, along with ECOWAS, to invade Niger, he will lose more than ECOWAS, because definitely we are going to the polls anytime, any day, anytime soon. We will go back to the votes. We will go back to the polling stations. And that is when Nigerians will realize that they have been called upon in the past. Be wary, be careful, beware of a Tinubu presidency. They didn't hear. Now we are seeing the manifestation of absolute failure and incapacity, inability, and lack of experience. Only an inexperienced president, barely 3 months in an office, can begin to think of war. Therefore, our option, violence is not an option. Our options are always, under democracy, our voters' card, our voices, our communication, our resolve to work in team and ensure that people who are bloodthirsty, who cannot go to the blood bank and get a blood, rather they want a fresh blood, will not govern Nigeria, will not preside over Nigeria, and will not continue to decide the fate of Nigerians. Already it's a country where everybody is on his own, everybody for himself, survival of the fittest. The devil take the hindmost. People are angry, they are hungry. Businesses have been crippled. Relationships have been destroyed. And yet under this terrible situation, somebody is thinking of war. Perish that thought of going to war. But for war, let him go to war. In war, there are multiple casualties from both ends. Only God knows who are going to be the casualties of the war between Nigeria. In fact, it's even between Nigeria, because Nigeria will sponsor this war, either by getting loan or by mortgaging anything. Other ECOWAS countries are gasping. They are economically dispossessed. They are down. They are below zero line. Let us see how under this situation he will go and borrow money to fund a war, a white-collar war, a war of emotions, and a war that will take him nowhere.
And a war that is sure to create havoc within our continent, not just the Western region, but all through.
Extensive havoc. Extensive havoc.
And as students of history, you can enlighten us some more about this, but you were speaking about who will foot the bill for the war. We're still paying for our very valiant efforts in Sierra Leone and Liberia, in which Nigeria did shelve most of the cost for that. We do know that there is a cost of living crisis that is biting us quite severely, as many as are clamoring for palliatives. But I want to move away from that and ask about the intervention of foreign powers. Still more on being a student of history. Historically speaking, we have seen this happen in many regions. Right now, it is a power play between France and Russia, it seems. We know that the former French colonies are super annoyed with with France. They don't want anything to do with them. We've seen them expel them over the last couple of months. And here comes Russia, who is fighting its own war and creating havoc internationally speaking. We have the Wagner troops who have decided to help liberate Niger. In such situations where people of a different skin color or a different background and different heritage come to liberate us, we do know that it ends not always the way that we plan. Can you speak about Russia's role in the Niger war, and also France as well?
It's not a fight between France and Russia as such. There are three parties versus a party.
Proxies.
The first party is America. Second party is the UK. The third party is the collective union of Europe altogether put together. On one hand. On the other hand, you have Russia. All of them are not in Niger, will not be in Niger for God and country. No, they are there for economic reasons. America, Europe, and France are feeling the pain of the dominance of Russia in their energy requirements. 80% of the energy requirement in Europe comes from Russia. Therefore, they are looking for a way out. The only way out they had was they funded a so-called pipe, AKK file of gas, running through Niger right into Europe so that it will checkmate the excesses and the dominance of Russia in supplying energy. This is the great opportunity for Russia to ensure that that project will not go on. America, Europe, and France will have to continue depending on Russia's gas and energy for any time for a long, very long time to come. Therefore, it's a convergence of hypocrisy, cherry picking, wickedness, man's inhumanity to man, and power against weakness. They are feasting on Niger simply because they are fighting a proxy war. Niger is inconsequential if there was no uranium in Niger. If there was no this pipeline of gas in Niger, it would have been nothing. When you say liberating Niger, I just laugh before I come to comment on it. What are you liberating there? Niger is the second poorest country in the world. Their per capita is virtually below zero if you compare to any of the international currencies. Their educational sector is virtually zero. Health sector, virtually zero. No agriculture, nothing. They have not been liberated of hunger, of starvation, of backwardness, of ignorance, of environmental challenge. They are coming to liberate them, to liberate their own uranium. They are coming to destroy them. They are coming to annihilate them. They are coming to exterminate them. They are coming to obliterate them simply because of man's inhumanity to man. They have refused to learn a lesson in Afghanistan. After decades of war, they ran out. America has forgotten how it went into a small country, Somalia, during Mohammed Farah ID, during those presidents. They went into Somalia and they ran out. Their militaries were being dragged in the city of Somalia. Have they forgotten about that?
Mr.
Have they forgotten how they created millions of orphans in Iraq, in Iran, in Syria?
Mr. Shehu, apologies for interrupting, but we do have 3 minutes with you. I'd like to give you the opportunity to give us your what you think the solution and the way forward best approach would be regarding this situation, please.
The solution is that ECOWAS, through its own chairman, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should look inwards. They should retract. They are already at war with Niger. They have cut up light, closed all borders, placed all other embargoes on them, air, sea, land embargo. This is clinically war. It's a clinical war. Clearly, a war is already happening in Niger. ECOWAS and Tinubu should look back, look inwards, retract, become prisoners of history, avoid being prisoners of geography, think wisely, act wisely, behave wisely before it is too little too late. Otherwise, this will be the end of ECOWAS. There are already 9 countries that will willingly opt out of ECOWAS. And if 9 countries go out of ECOWAS, what will remain of ECOWAS will be the dream of daydreamers, the pain of the painful, and the stupidity of the stupid will be the only thing remaining.
But just since ECOWAS is relatively divided on this, quickly, do you think the AU should be the one doing the mediation at this point in time? Briefly, please.
AU are also an appendix. There is a clear, direct, indirect, tangential, and linear relationship between AU and ECOWAS. They will do nothing different from ECOWAS. There is nothing like what are you mediating? It's laughable when you send the Sultan of Sokoto, a retired brigadier general, Abdusalam Abubakar, a former military, all of them beneficiaries of a coup, to go and negotiate with coup protesters. It's really laughable. It's ironical. And it shows how daft some people are in policy formulation and execution.
Of 45 ministerial nominees out of the 48 names submitted by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, who was among the 3 nominees, including Stella Okotete and Senator Abubakar Danladi, not confirmed by the Senate, began trending on social media. While Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the 3 nominees who were not confirmed had to undergo security screening from relevant security agencies before their appointments will be confirmed. Let's take some reactions. This is from Al Commandant, who wrote, DSS clearance usually precedes ministerial nominations. If my memory serves me right, does that mean DSS doesn't transmit their findings to the Senate ahead of confirmation? Or what is the essence of the background checks done by the security agencies? I don't understand. Well, Ugu Joseph wrote, this is just mere drama, which is always the case in Nigeria. At the end of the day, all of them would eventually embrace and congratulate them. They are just trying to entertain the world. As usual, the expected could only happen if the president is against them covertly. Well, in the meantime, reactions also trailed the screening and confirmation of former Minister of State for Labor and Employment and Productivity, Festus Keyamo, who was made to apologize to the Senate for disrespecting both chambers of the National Assembly in 2020 when he ignored summons to explain the disbursement of 52 billion naira public works program meant for Nigerians across 774 local governments during his tenure as minister. The Senate witnessed a rowdy session after Senate Minority Whip Darlington Nwankocha raised a motion for the suspension of Keyamo's screening pending investigation.
I would like us to grant him fair hearing since he had been running away from it, for Nigerians to know what really happened. Because I wouldn't like any person to be holding that, because this thing has been subject of debate here and there. What happened to the 52 billion? What happened to the... But he is here, and it's our responsibility to find out. So, Mr. President of the Senate, I'm of the opinion so strongly that he has to tell us what really happened, but not here. We have to keep it down a little bit. We're not saying that we're not going to clear him. This is a house that can reconvert at any point. You can even call for an emergency and we'll reconvert. Yes. We want a situation, we hold you responsible from the onset. I move a motion that we suspend forthwith this nomination and wait until when this is cleared.
Well, in the meantime, the clash between Festus Keyamo and the Joint Committee of the National Assembly on Labor back in 2020 resurfaced online, showing the lawmakers accusing Keyamo of hijacking the Public Works Program from the National Directorate of Employment.
We are doing serious business here. How can you expose corruption without telling us? I must respond. I won't respond to what you said. They are not exceptional. We will take it on with the president. Are you better than all the ministers?
That I should bring the program back on the platform direct me.
Playing to the gallery does not work here. Playing to the gallery does not work here.
You cannot say something and disallow me the opportunity to respond. It's wrong. It's wrong. You make a submission now and you don't give me respect to respond. All my life as a lawyer, I'm not prohibited. I'm not prohibited. I must respond to what you say. If you don't want me to respond, and you distract me, I will go.
Honorable Minister.
You distract me, I
Honorable Minister, can you please keep quiet?
I will go. Oh, that was Keyamo in 2020, standing his ground. Well, Keyamo issued an unreserved apology to the National Assembly for ignoring their summons and his countenance.
Let me start with an unreserved apology. My apology is without reservation. It's total apology for the misunderstanding that arose between us in my committee at that time at the Night Assembly. I apologize without reservation, total apology. Regarding that program, every single payment, and I insisted to the past president that it must come from the central bank directly to the accounts of the people who were nominated to receive those funds. And so we as ministers, both ministers in the ministry and the head of the agency at that time that we supervised, never saw one kobo. It was straight, all we needed to do was to generate the list and pass to the CBN. Every detail is available at the National Director of Employment. Anybody can go there and ask for a copy. We have it in a flash and confirm every single one with a BVN number. And they are all there for complete transparency. Till today, we did not see one kobo of that. I needed to make that clarification. And like I said, I'm sorry for that misunderstanding.
Okay, Amo has made his clarification. He has apologized at this point. I mean, the question a lot of people are asking, I mean, that clarification could have come at the time that they were requesting it. But before I come to you, let me take some more tweets. This is from Henry, who wrote, I remember submitting my application for this particular program, but I never received an ordinary text message. Even my ward councillor, whom I submitted the form, insisted I scratch his palm before he could accept it from me. Mm-hmm. Well, another person there goes, the National Assembly screening and confirming a man who denigrated the institution that defines our democracy is a direct attack on their integrity and values. Denying Mr. Festus a ministerial position would have served as a deterrent to the new ministers. Is NASS really an arm of government, Rufai?
No, let's urge you. Apart from the fact that some people want to go after Mr. Kiyamo,
yes,
let us state it the way it is. If Boson apologized,
yeah,
and they let him go, if Mr. Kiyamo has apologized,
yeah,
they should also let him go.
Apologies is the word now, right?
But why is Mr. Kiyamo very calm now that he wants Senate to be able to allow him go through? Why was he shouting with so much? Why didn't he shout on this Senate the way he was shouting in the House of Rep before?
Fire, violence.
No. It's not a case of violence. It's just asking a question. It just shows you that when people want something, they are very calm and everything. But most importantly, why do we have a country where a minister will not come in front of the Senate when they have asking him questions? And also, apart from all that Mr. Kiyamo has said, I think we must even review how that program was conducted. Mm-hmm. Because you see, I remember when that it's not that Cutlass program.
Yes,
that we saw people Cutlass and everything. You get, the truth is, who got those monies? Were they in any way people that were closely affiliated? Just like now, we have been asking questions about those on the social register, and the questions can be answered. Mm. And the answer they give in response is one or two people, they take pictures and say, okay, I benefited from this. We are saying a consistent forensic audit into everybody and every account the money went into. We can't have a country where the palliative just go into all sorts of accounts. Yeah. And that's why we are saying this, leading up to the new announcements President Tinubu has made. The companies want to give 1 billion as support. We must go through a very transparent and rigorous process. The farmers who want to give incentives to be able to plant, we must go through a very transparent and rigorous process. We must not have projects that just go down the drain that we cannot effectively account for. So that was what caused the kerfuffle, the conundrum, whatever you call it, Mr. Kiyamo yesterday. But you see, it is the humility that is striking for me. The way he's very humble, and there he was. But anyway, people can raise their voice when they are making an argument and all of that. But most importantly, I think the other very important case is that of the DSS raids. So are we saying that the DSS did not do due screening as regards the 3 ministerial candidates, or it was based on the new petitions brought forward? That came in. So if that's the case, I think we would like to see clarification. I think we have talked ad nauseam about what even constituted the new petition. The fact that it was when Nasir El-Rufai, former Governor Nasir El-Rufai was on the floor of the Senate, that somebody said there's a petition against him. Probably that was adopted and taken and screened and all of that. In all of this, Oji, we have our ministers now.
Yes.
It is time for them to work. And please, the president should not let us wait any further. Before the week runs out, hopefully we should be able to have ministerial portfolios.
Absolutely.
And so that these people can get to work. And if they do well, we'll praise them. If they don't do well, we'll say otherwise. Simple.
Well, all right. In the same vein, though, former staff of the Federal Character Commission, Haruna Kolo, alleged on Monday that job seekers paid millions of naira into his personal accounts for him to take to the chairman of the agency, Muhiba Dankaka. Kolo made the allegation while appearing before the investigative hearing of the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee probing job racketeering in federal ministries, departments, and agencies of government. The FCC chair, however, denied the allegation, swearing on the Holy Quran that the accusation was a conspiracy between Kolo, who was a chief protocol officer, and other commissioners of the commission to tarnish her image.
I swear with Almighty God and with this Quran. I got this Quran from the secretary. He brought it to this place. Thank God the secretary brought this Quran to this place. If I ever collect 1 naira from this Kolo, may Almighty destroy what I've worked for. If I ever in my life ask him to go and collect 1 naira from anybody, whatever I'm looking for, with this Quran, may it destroy me. I'm a Muslim. All what he does for me is when we are going to the airport, he buys ticket for me. He said he comes to my house to give money. He does not come to my house to give money. Excuse me, I stayed in an estate. Before you enter, I must go ahead for you to enter.
Chairman, I should tell you, excuse me.
Well, all right, Ayo, over to you. I mean, this is federal character. A lot of people say federal character has no character. But you know, the person who was overseeing the committee was saying, you know, you have to calm down. You don't bring in your emotions here to try to, preempt the outcome of the investigation. Swearing on the Holy Quran, Ayo.
Well, we bring in emotions a lot when it comes. We've seen a number of investigations before our screens in the Senate, and where we see people come very emotive. Some people faint. Some people all of a sudden have health conditions that were not there before. We've seen drama play out in the Senate. But I'd like to refer to today's article, Tuesday with Ruben Abati by Dr. Abati in this day newspaper, back page, The Menace of Prophets and Our Future. Yes. He talks about the fact that for many studies, Nigeria is one of the most religious countries in the world. Also one of the poorest countries in the world. Also one of the most corrupt countries in the world. So there's something that doesn't quite add up with our religiosity and our character. And I'm talking about Federal Character Council. It's important, on the face of it, she wanted to swear, Ms. Muhida Dankaka was willing to swear on the Quran, which she did to ascertain or to defend her innocence. However, because we have seen this play out a number of times, and it's quite sad because indeed, this is the Holy Quran, the Bible, and symbols of our religion should be holy and sacred. But because we have seen in the past where people have lied under oath, we are not going to play on emotions. We're not going to depend on emotions or her fervency in defending herself. Let us have a thorough investigation. Over 30 million naira was found in Kolo's account, a civil servant. And he was her chief protocol officer. And he also said, so it's his word against hers, except a forensic audit and an investigation is done to ascertain the true state of things. And beyond this particular department, across different government agencies, we see job racketeering. It is almost the norm. We hear it and it's not so shocking to us. Whether money is exchanged or for favors, or the fact that I knew your father or your mother before, so I want to favor with a job, it is all a mark of corruption. It should be investigated, and hopefully 1 or 2 people should be used as examples, and there should be systems in place to avoid incidents like this occurring. There are poor people who deserve the job, but because they don't know anyone in the place or cannot afford to bribe, are prevented from accessing those jobs.
Well said, Ayo. Dr. Abati, your take on all the stories.
Well, very quickly, I thought that this Mr. Kulu, he's really Kulu. Kulu? As they say in Yoruba language. You go before the House of Representatives and you make an allegation. In fact, it's a confessional statement. And it is instructive that one of the members in that assembly, in that House of Representatives said, in fact, that Mr. Kulu should have been arrested there. Because what the law says is that the receiver of stolen goods is also himself a thief. You are as guilty as the person. So he has made an allegation right there of his former boss sitting down and saying he used to collect money from persons looking for job, for employment, and the approval of the Federal Character Commission to give to his former boss. He left the FCC, the Federal Character Commission, and now we're told works with AMCON. So, in a sense, he was indicting both himself and his boss. So what we can call for is further investigation, because this is a plain admission of corrupt practice in the House of Representatives. The other part of it is that this may well be the pattern in the corridors of power, whereby, and we may have had such stories, whereby the boss that is in charge of the office has a protocol officer. Part of the work of protocol officers is not only to carry bag for madam or to help take the children to school, to which some of them have been reduced to. It's also to collect brown envelopes, as Kolo is using his mentality, you know, to establish.
As Kolo is using his mentality to establish, Dr. Bati.
So that means I get
Kolo mentality.
No, I didn't say so. No, I didn't say so. I didn't say so. So, and he's just confessing
you are legendary.
openly. So the thing is to investigate it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I guess that is the purpose of that, interaction with the House of Representatives. So he may have thrown the former boss under the bus, as the woman was alleging, but he has also done the same thing to himself.
Yes.
And I hope that consequential actions will be taken with regard to the confession that he has publicly made. As for Festus Keyamo, well, I thought that matter has now been settled, now that he has apologized. He's not the only one that has apologized. Bosun Tijani also apologized and said he was sorry to say being a Nigerian is a sin. Yeah. So you find people recanting.
No, he apologized for that. He apologized for calling the senators moron.
Okay, well, it's the same thing. He apologized, whatever. So sometimes we say it's free speech. But Ojinika, let me ask you, if na you uncle, they will nominate you as minister,
but you know I'm calm
and then they will bring you before the Senate.
It wouldn't happen.
And they will say, Mr. Ojinika on Arise News, you used to abuse it. You say, please, I'm sorry.
I'll say your lordship,
your worship,
your lordship, sir.
Your lordship, pick up.
All right.
That's the Nigerian way.
Absolutely. Well, all right. We'll take our final story. In Kano State, where history was made as the first female judge of the state, DJ Abu Aboki was sworn in by the governor of the state, Abba Yusuf. Aboki was sworn in on Monday at the government house. The state's governor described the event as a remarkable feat, breaking the old tradition which before now saw only male chief judges in the state. During the ceremony, Judge Aboki pledged to restore the lost glory of the state and uphold integrity, honesty, and justice in her role. She also expressed gratitude for the opportunity to serve the state.
With the help of Almighty Allah and your cooperation and contribution of all stakeholders, we will, inshallah, restore the glory of the judiciary in our dear state. My goal, and I hope that will be the goal of every one of us, is to ensure that we will enhance the justice delivery to make it more efficient, effective, and accessible to all.
What can we say? Absolutely amazing. I know, Kano State was in the news only recently when Miriam Shetty's nomination was withdrawn. It's amazing to see women representation. I think this is such an important story. It just begs to have this women integration into our community as powerhouses.
I think women are winning.
Yes.
Talk about sports in politics, appointments. Excellent to see Kano celebrate his first female chief judge.
Yes.
And she's been tasked with the burden of ensuring fairness and equity and restoring the glory of the judiciary in Kano State.